So, good afternoon again, one and all. It's a great pleasure in welcoming you. The quite interesting subject, what we are likely to see, the power scenario in Tamil Nadu, particularly with reference to the present situation and the future. For the last 1 month, if you are able to see, the industry started blinking what will be the power scenario in the coming days. That was a question raised by many mills. One side, the mills were experiencing number of trippings coupled with load shedding. Subsequent to that, the thermal power people, those who have supplied under the group captive, they shut down their plant because of escalation in the cost of coal. Now they are not in a position to offer even at the rate of 7 rupee 50 paise. So the coal price has increased almost 3 times. Therefore, they were not in a position to supply the thermal power. Then if we take the question of IEX, again it's a problem. It has touched the very great peak, I can say. It even touches the 20 rupees per unit. This is also cost prohibitive for the mills to do further on this. There is always a fear factor. The TANGENCO is always filing a petition, and Commission is taking up certain issues, particularly with reference to priority of adjustment. I can say the priority of adjustment. Now the people, some or other, those who have got the wind, now they are purchasing from the IEX, so that whatever the wind generations that they are able to store it for some time for banking and to be utilized at the later stage. That is the scenario as of now. But the TANGENCO has come out with the petition seeking the permission of the Commission under the guise of priority of adjustment. They wanted to adjust the wind energy first, then for IEX. This is another issue which the wind people have to face it. Then if we look at that, the solar energy, many people have filed an application for approval of rooftop. Again, for the last few months, almost I can say about 5 to 6 months, all the applications are kept pending with the TANGENCO because of new regulation is going to come and how it is going to work. All these things are there. So if you look at that every scenario, people have got their own apprehension. What will be the future, particularly when the TANGENCO itself is not in a position to supply, means what will happen? Assuming that even if that's what I have sent one circular stating that people may feel happy at least if they are able to get the power from the TANGENCO at the present cost of 6 rupee 91 paise. Because that is a situation where they are not able to source the power at a competitive price. Wherever they go for it, they find it difficult. Sometimes they wanted to come out from any generator. Again, it's another problem to approach the TANGENCO for a NOC and to switch over to some other generator. Whether other generator are in a position to supply, it's a big question mark. So if that be the situations, what will be the position in Tamil Nadu with regard to power, and how the industries have to source the power is a big question mark. This is a situation wherein we sought the advice and the help of eCloud. Now we have requested a great man of Mr. Shanta Kumar. Just now I have gone through his profile. He is such a simple person with a good amount of knowledge on the subject. I can see that because he has traveled nearly about 30-35 years and is served in various capacities. He is B electrical and electronics, and coupled with I'm amazing to see that he worked in various organizations including TCS, then also in SPIC group, and he sailed along with so many startup companies, and on seeing his profile, I am really happy that we have invited the right person who is able to understand the business and also understand the market scenario, and also see that what blend is required for the industries. So I recently had an interaction with Mr. Shanta Kumar, the Chief Executive Officer of the eCloud. Then I'm able to see that because of his wide amount of knowledge on the subject, and also interaction with the various generators and those who are doing the projects, the company in which he is functioning as a CEO is growing well. In fact, I can say within a short span of time, almost his revenue has increased to the extent of 100 times. I can say about from 40 lakhs to it has gone for more than 4 crores. He has turned around the present company. So this is a wonderful situation. I think we have sought the advice, and we are in a position to listen from him how it could be tackled in the coming days, and let us see what is his views and suggestions for the textile mills, and we will continue to have a same journey because we would like to know from him and let the people understand. And if you have any doubt, you can raise it at the end of the session, and by listening to his speech, I hope that one and all will get benefit out of it. And on behalf of the members of SIMA, I once again welcome Mr. Shanta Kumar, and I'm requesting Shanta Kumar to handle the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I'm audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a benevolent introduction. Well, I'm certainly not a great person, as you said. Thank you for your words, kind words that you have taken to introduce me. Energy is, of course, a very, very wide topic, and when you are talking about the changes in pricing and all these things that has been going on, I just recollected a report that came up some days back. When I say some days, I should really say some years. In 2012, International Energy Agency, one of the topmost with all the great consultants and researchers sitting there, in the International Energy Agency, they came out with a remark saying that the solar prices will go down, but possibly will go down by 5% or 10% in the next 5 years, and another 10% in the years after that. By 2020, it will possibly go down by about 20-25%. That was their estimate. But subsequently, what really happened, we all know. It is a situation where it went down by almost 70 to 80% it went down, and today the prices are pretty low. So the price scenario as far as the energy business is concerned is pretty tricky, and it is so very much interconnected with multiple things. And even an organization like International Energy Agency could not judge the price variations that could possibly hit the market. Almost 10 years back, that was the kind of judgments they had. So whatever I am giving you is my perception of what is really happening, and I don't really try to foresee into the future much, but I just present you what could be the right kind of options that we could possibly look at given the current scenario. So good afternoon to all. Let me, with your kind permission, share the screen so that I can present a PowerPoint. One moment, please. Yeah. I hope my screen is visible to you. So, yes. Okay. Yeah. So, right. So whatever, as I was telling you, the power scenario is something that would make even the widest of the experts into a situation where they may not be able to foresee most of the things that are happening even tomorrow morning. So what really I thought we should really do for the current session is give you the energy environment. Because energy is by definition, it is a very dependent industry. So let us take a look at the energy environment. What are the different parameters that could hurt the price of energy and how it has been affecting in the last few years? And then we will take a look at the current scenario as it is, and then finally tackle the survival question, because that could become a very important thing for us in the near future as well as on long term, 20-30 years to come. If you would like to interrupt me on anything, if you would like to ask me some specific questions, put it on your chat, and I'm sure I will also take a look at it and see if I can help you out on that question. Well, energy market is vastly interconnected, as I put here. Rain in Eastern Australia or a flood in Indonesia is like whatever is happening today could hurt our power situations right here. So let us take let us take the complete look at what are the different kinds of parameters that really go into it, why the power industry is so dependent. Power industry is dependent both on the downstream side, meaning the consumers, how the consumers react. Unless the consumers are running, you just cannot run the power plant also. So this is primarily because there's a zero shelf life for the product you produce and serve as you produce. So there is absolutely no way of storing, though of course there's lots of research that's going on in storage of power. As of today, there is no efficient store retrieve mechanism, so zero shelf life, that is going to have a very great impact on running the power plant. So unless you are loaded, you can't just run. That is on the downstream side. On the upstream side, if you look at the supplier, whoever is who has to supply, the coal, it hurts, the gas, it hurts. I think every parameter that changes. If we look at the current renewables, the price of solar panels hurts, the price of the wind turbines hurt the industry. So lots of upstream and downstream products, whoever is there, they totally control the power industry. And one of the reasons is because this is highly regulated, and primarily because it's an essential commodity, so it's very much regulated. Across the world, it is regulated, but as far as India is concerned, you will find that we are a kind of, it's regulated, but semi-regulated, so that every day there is something new happening. And in our country, implementing the law is always a very big problem. So regulations continue to be a problem for the power industry, and it is effected on a choice basis. The rules are applied whenever there is a need. Well, okay, so that's just an observation. All eyes on power industry today, because it is the largest polluter in the polluting industry, you can say. United Nations has marked the #1 industry to pollute the world, causing greenhouse gases, particularly the carbon dioxide, is the power industry. So all eyes are on power industry to ensure that minimal pollution happens. Of course, who is the second. The fashion industry is the second. So I think we are sitting right here in the middle of the fashion industry side. Textiles and the fashion industry, the entire supply chain, is the second polluting industry as per the UN regulations, UN identification under the climate change control. Well, the power industry, coming back to that, is certainly at the crossroads. On one side, it is the regulatory and the climate control, which is controlling the way the industry should be operated, the technology, etc. On the other side, the suppliers, meaning the raw materials, etc., are all causing problems. So coal prices, gas prices, petroleum prices, and of course the technology side, the panel prices, the windmill prices. So all these things are known to hurt. But of course, the biggest person who hurts the power industry as of today is a regulatory change that keeps happening almost on a day-to-day basis. Though I'm saying, I'm talking about supplier side, all these issues, coal, gas, etc. You will find that in some of the cases, the prices are going up, and certain other cases, the prices are coming down. Let's take a quick look at what is happening on the supplier side. So it is not all cases, it is not something like it's going up and up, therefore the power prices have to necessarily go up. That is not the case. The coal prices are going up. Yes, all prices are changing. Current prices stand at $240 per metric ton. This is the coal price as of yesterday. And if you look at this one, this is at about 40. It went down as much as I remember meeting some guys from Indonesia in Singapore once, and they were talking of a price level of $25 per ton. And so it went down, maybe not in the last 10 years, but in the last maybe 12 or 13 years since, hence, you will find it was $25, and today we are at around $240 per metric ton. That's it. And this change has happened in the last 5 months to 6 months, and that is the cause of all the noise in the power sector, that caused the increase in the power prices. And if you look at the crude prices, it has not really gone up much, though relative to this price level, it has gone up. But by and large, you will find it is kind of maintaining an average level. It is not really shot up much. Now, if you look at gas prices, the same kind of a thing has happened. Gas prices, by gas, I mean the LNG price. LNG prices have gone up, and again, it has started already going down, almost like our V curve that we are talking of, but inverted V curve. It's coming down with the same speed at which it went up. So now, if this is the case with natural gas, so the prices of coal is the one that is really hurting very much, because the major set of power plants in India is coal-based. Second reason is you find that we are dependent on imported coal to a great extent, because many of our coal producing mines are not what they call as a black coal, and it is not in the best of the qualities. They don't have the required GCV. So that is one of the reasons why you find out our dependency on international suppliers like Indonesian or Australian coal is pretty high, and that is the reason why our prices are really going up today. But if you look at the biomass, for instance, it's a very small market, though. I still thought I would just mention that, because most of the biomass units are not running today, but some have started, because the prices have gone up for power. They could make use of, even by paying this higher per metric ton cost of biomass, we are able to run it on a profitable way. Furnace oil, at times when it becomes better than HSD, then people use furnace oil in some of the smaller power plants. So this is the scenario. The same way, the other set of people who hurt the power prices is the wind and solar market. If you look at the wind and solar market, we know what has really been happening with both these markets. Solar has been drastically going down. If you look at it from the 1990 prices to 2020 prices, it is literally about 10% of what it used to be. Whereas by 2010, it has already come down to 6 crores a megawatt. It was lesser than the wind prices, which used to rule at around 9 crores and came down today to around 2020. It is around 6 crores. The prices that I'm talking about is not the EPC contract price. EPC contract price, you can say For wind, currently it rules at around 5 to 5.5 crores. I'm talking about all prices, not just the land, the turbine, but also all other costs that goes into lining up power for you, which includes clearances, everything. So that is the one that I've done with solar also. When I say 4.5 crores, it includes all of them. And these are all just ballpark figures. So you can take it with a pinch of salt as well. What really the person's quote, the wind guys or solar guys would be the final one. But I'm giving you a price close to that as much as possible. And wind, the PLF is of course the deciding factor, which looks at 30 to 38%. PLF is what the wind turbines operate on, while solar works between 20 and 25%. And the new generation, the hybrids, though many of them talk of 40 to 45%, there are few who talk of 60 to 65% hybrid PLF. Well, that is still to be proven on the ground. But what all said and done, you will still get a better PLF if it is hybrid. Okay. Now, when we had a meeting with the TEDA last, I think, 2 weeks back, and they were not really ready with the hybrid, subsidies that they originally, the finance bill in the budget proposed this year in the central budget, though the MNRE seem to have suggested hybrid subsidy, which, by the way, is active in Gujarat. Now, having seen the price history of various raw materials that go into electricity production, I would like to show you the price history of electricity in the last few years in India. This is, again, it is a converted, kindly look at it. It is in a USD purchase power parity. I went to this graph because I thought we should be able to compare the price levels in various countries so that we are comfortable with where we stand vis-a-vis the other countries in terms of the cost of power. So this is a levelized USD purchase power parity price of Indian power. And you will find that this is the United States or even China. If you look at it, we are almost double their price. And that could mean how competitive we are going to be if the electricity is going to be 30 or 40% of your input cost. How competitive can you turn out to be? We'll decide possibly based on this. So naturally, you will have to look at options to bring down your power cost to as great an extent as possible or as close to the price of your competing countries. Otherwise, you would have to lose up on your other margins. This is the history on whatever I thought I should possibly give an idea, but let me also go back and tell you the major modifier for our power business is, of course, the electricity regulation. As per the, I thought I should read out the Electricity Act's preamble, what it says, at least the bold point, which I have made it bold. Of course, the Act doesn't make it bold. It does not underline. But let me just read out that. The Act is primarily for, within quotes, the development of electricity industry, promoting competition therein, protecting interest of consumers, and supply of electricity to all areas, rationalization of electricity tariff, ensuring transparent policies regarding subsidies, promotion of efficient and environmentally benign policies. It's a fantastic objective. There is absolutely no doubt. But to what extent we have created competition, I would leave all these questions hanging. Interest of consumers need to be protected by the Act, which essentially means that all regulatory commissions need to protect the interest of consumers and not the interest of generators or the discoms or anyone else. It is primarily to protect the interest of consumers, supply of electricity to all areas, okay, and rationalization of electricity tariff. I would like to leave it hanging. Please look at and see whether these things are really taken care of in our current system, to what extent it is. So So let me. I'm sorry, I think I was also muted. So yeah, sorry. So I was talking to you about the regulatory environment. So the Electricity Act has made its impact. If you look at the way Electricity Act came into being, it came along with the Telecom Act. By 1998, I think it was the Electricity Regulatory Commission, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission was formed to control the business of electricity in India, to privatize various activities, to bring in market conditions to the fore. And that was really conceived and brought in 1998. If you look at the other side, the telecom industry, the TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, was also formed in 1997, about 3-4 months difference between the two. And you can just judge the amount of progress that telecom has made and compare it with the progress electricity business has made. You will know how much of the act and the regulatory systems were really made use of or implemented in case of electricity. So today we are able to subscribe to any of the telecom guys sitting down here, choose your operator at any point of time, change over dynamically. All these are possible today. But in the Electricity Act, none of these things are made possible because there had been lots of controls on this. There was recently an article in Hindu written by CII's president, and good that he has, I think it was in Business Line, not in Hindu. He has clearly said that this regulatory system, the amendment to the Act, has not really been brought in. 2011, I remember the first time the amendment was placed in the parliament, it was withdrawn. And this amendment, I think it has been placed. The moment this current people came to rule the country in 2014, they also brought the same electricity amendment. And again, it was withdrawn. I think it was Piyush Goyal who brought in at that time, and then it was withdrawn. Again, now it was slated to be presented in the parliament about 3 months back, and it has not seen the light of the day somehow. So there are lots of regulatory issues that are still outstanding, and lots of codes and code changes are happening, but to a very little extent. The same way electricity rules. I had the honor of sitting in the code review panel for a short while, for 3 years, and we hardly made few changes because it's very difficult to bulldoze or push through any change that could really be brought in. And what is covered and what is not covered, we continue to be with the HT consumers. We have not opened the third-party consumption or private power sale to LT consumers even today. And there are no clear regulations, as our Secretary General was mentioning. There is no clear regulation on rooftops, neither on solar nor on wind. When we were in code review panel, I was really mooting that idea that we at least should make a code for putting up these things, but a separate code for rooftops, solar and wind, because they are a different category in the sense that a generator, what we call as a prosumer, they call it, right? They are both generator and a consumer. So they call it whatever, I think prosumers they call it. So they are both generators and consumers. So the situation is changing substantially with the different, with the distributed generation coming into place. And the regulations are not there, therefore they're not supported. And that is also a major cause of concern for all of us, because the moment you want to put in a large power, 1 megawatt plus power plant on your rooftop in your industry, you will have issues with the DISCOM, and that is just what is happening because of these unclear regulations. And unless you have clarity, these things are not going to happen these things are not going to happen. And regulations have to be well thought out, kind of reduce the ambiguity that goes into it, instead of increasing the litigation. So, well, that is something which is about the regulatory environment. It's changing on a daily basis, and we look forward to competition, except for one person who took the distribution license. India Power took a distribution license in Tamil Nadu, and that too for a very restricted SEZ in Nanguneri. But otherwise, there is no other distribution license holder in Tamil Nadu as of today. And by the way, we got a license to trade in power recently. Well, let us just come and take a quick look at the present scenario. We have moved, of course, we have moved, though we are complaining, we have strongly moved, like one of the customs commissioner, he used to mention, we have, you don't know how much trouble the earlier guys were going through, taking every invoice for excise duty and all that. Today, that doesn't exist. The same way, if we compare it with yesterday, yes, today is, to some extent, we have certainly moved ahead. I would say around 50 to 60% we have moved, we have crossed the bridge, but the remaining needs to be crossed. So, but however, let me just take a quick look at what is happening on these areas. So we have moved from a grossly public-oriented, monopolized business to something which is jointly owned. If you look at the generation side, you find in Tamil Nadu, the private companies own more generation. Well, remember that 17.8 gigawatt includes nearly 80% to 90% of the renewables in it. So it is not that 17.8 gigawatt includes major part of firm power. It's mostly infirm power. The same way, if you look at the sources also, 15.6 gigawatt. Sorry about this mistake. This should have been longer than the 15.5 gigawatt. I am sorry, the same here. I've been altering the numbers, but not been altering the bars. I'm sorry about the error that has happened. Please see the numbers only, not the bar sizes. So the 15.6 gigawatt is the renewables today. It has overtaken the non-renewables. And Tamil Nadu was, I would say, was the number one in renewables. And how did this happen? We need to look at this because what are we are now losing our number one status, and we need to also understand why we are losing. There were favorable wind policies on banking, and FIT rates were very good, which actually encouraged a lot of wind investment. Of course, the accelerated depreciation was another major advantage at the time. And government's proactive role in the initial days, unlike what is happening today, where we are asked to tell them or forecast what is going to be the power generation. Really, literal terms, you will see that TANGEDCO has the widest experience and longest experience in power generation as far as wind is concerned. I remember the first of TANGEDCO's TNEB at that time. Their wind turbines were erected in Tuticorin in 1985. And from then onwards, TNEB has an experience in working with them. And if you look at Tamil Nadu's resource bank, we are only 9th, whereas the rest of them, like Gujarat or Rajasthan, has much larger resource bank, and they should be tapping as we go by. But we have one important offshore resource which no other state has, like Gujarat or Rajasthan, doesn't have such a huge offshore resource, wind resource like what we have, because whatever we have there runs into terawatts of capacity, off the coast of Rameshwaram and in the Gulf of Mannar. That's a natural estuary, natural venturi, which will help us to generate huge amount of wind power. So today, of course, Karnataka is number one. Let me just take you to the next slide. And market rates, as of today, TNERC tariff, I just said 6.91. I've taken the electricity duty and the variation in the peak rates and off-peak discounts into consideration, and I've taken a weighted average, and that is 6.91, because that is what you get from IEX when they deliver, which includes all other costs as well. The thermal, I've said 6.45 mostly on group captive, though you wouldn't get it as of today, even at this price. Wind, of course, third party. These two are third party pricing. I have not taken the group captive into consideration. These are third party pricings. Captive rates are substantially different. We will talk about it in the subsequent slides. So this is the one. I think these are ruling market rates for bilateral agreements. Okay, so what are the different things that modify the market pricing? The captive scheme is a market modifier. It evolved to encourage private investment in power, but it modifies the different concessions and the rates that rule the market. The same way, subsidies also are a great market modifier. They might be the need of the hour, but they do not encourage efficiency and they take different shapes. Like for instance, the subsidies, don't think of only the domestic subsidy or the farm subsidy alone. There are multiple other subsidies. For instance, there are subsidies to encourage renewables. There are direct subsidies like to the banking, etc. The AD was a subsidy. So all these are kind of subsidies which change the way the markets work. Because when the subsidies come in, you naturally go into the market to install more renewables. So these are all market modifiers. The same way, cross-subsidy surcharge, a modifier levied primarily for neutralizing the effect of subsidies into farm and agriculture. They are also market modifiers. They change the price levels. And then there are social commitments. Suppose you have a social commitment imposed by maybe your buyer. In the current scenario where there is a climate change control, if suppose you are a signatory to that, for instance, about a few months back, I remember Welspun announcing that they are near zero in case of carbon neutrality. So that is a social commitment. Over a period of time, if you are socially committed, that also could impact the market, and it is impacting. And today we have the additional surcharge. The additional surcharge, which has been imposed and contested in the courts, but well, that is also a market modifier. And the very idea I've said is fixing price for power at the TNERC level itself. It's a market modifier in the sense that they are fixing a price, and all prices go around this price fixed by TNERC, whether right or wrong. So what do we expect as an ideal market condition? In Tamil Nadu, all of these market modifiers are working in full force. All are interconnected, as I've said. But rates ideally should be decided by the market and not by TNERC. This is a wish. This is a kind of a wish list, but you may, of course, modify these things to suit the situation. Regulatory intervention should be minimal. That's what I've said. This should also make litigation minimal if ambiguities are low. And there should also be special courts in addition to whatever is happening. In the current, whatever amendments that the Electricity Act was looking at, these special courts for technical litigations were also laid down. As a matter of fact, they were foreseeing something like 10 to 20 more courts to handle technical litigations alone. And this also is a part of the Electricity Act that was amendment that's being tried to place. I think as an association, if you could also put in a word, it will apply some pressure to the government to support this electricity amendment, because Tamil Nadu did not support the electricity amendment. They were against it, and possibly a reason for the electricity amendment to be withdrawn. So now let us move on to the survival question. The energy efficiency. Of course, how do we survive? With energy, we might have to start with an energy efficiency as a need today, plus green power sources. As you could have seen, the price of solar has been continuously falling. The price of wind, which was falling, has now stopped falling. So we should look at and capitalize on where the power prices are really falling, and not look at those that are not falling. Like for instance, the coal prices, which have been rising. So whether we like it or not, the situation in the market is really pushing us towards power sources that are cheaper, like the green power sources, and a little bit lesser I wouldn't call it as a green power source, But the carbon emission in cases like LNG, natural gas, for instance, is substantially lower when compared to the carbon emissions in coal-based power plants. So that is continuing to be low. So we should ideally look at these energy sources which are on the lower bracket, or the prices are coming down or are maintained even in the current scenario. But the first response to the current scenario should be, we should really be knocking at the doors of energy efficiency. This might be thrust upon us over a period of time because India is also a signatory, and since the COP21, that is the what we call as the Paris Accord, and since the Paris Accord, industries have also signed into the Paris Accord. So the same way, where companies like the groups of companies like the Association of Fashion Industries, Association of the Electronics and the Software Industry, IT industries, they've all signed in at different places into the Accord at different points of time. Before 20, I think it was 2015 Paris Accord, 2016, 2017, you find that most of the industries have also signed it. So if you are in a supply chain to, let us say, to a company like H&M or IKEA or Gap or any of these major buyers, then we need to look at complying to all these norms, and that would mean that we have to take another closer look at our energy efficiency. And from whatever analysis, well, this number, the 25% that I mentioned here, is not my number. It's a number I picked up from the US government study and study done on US industries. I presume the US industries are by default energy efficient to a greater extent, but even there, at the end of their study, they found that most of the industries could be bettered in terms of energy efficiency, and the energy efficiency saved was as high as 25% in many of them. So whatever we see, if we look at the energy efficiency thrust that was laid in our country, I'm sure you would have, many of your organizations might have been a part of the PAT scheme, Perform, Achieve, Trade. So that scheme was introduced, at least I think it is 10 years back, but was not a non-starter. We had a PAT certificate that was being traded in IEX, but as I said, it was a non-starter and not many people really took it very seriously. But the benchmarks were fixed. It's a good scheme in the sense that it makes economic sense today to save power, and every unit that you save primarily means that it saves really double the cost for you. And this is on the energy efficiency. And there are, we have seen that in many cases, like compressed air uses almost 10 to 20% of your energy. And the steam lines, suppose you have steam lines, and even a pinhole leak causes a substantial amount of loss if spread over an entire year. And lighting, it may look like a small trickle, but that also saves a huge amount of money over a period of time. Many of these things look like a small trickle, but this trickle is the one which, when it flows, like one drop of water that leaks out of your pipeline could become a huge amount of, could fill multiple tanks over a year. So that is the kind of savings I'm talking of. Small trickle savings, but that will ensure that at the end of the year, you end up saving a lot. There is the same way, BEE, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, their study shows that by just using BEE rated equipment, many of the industries and even households, they said that they will end up saving 10 to 20% of energy. So this is on the energy efficiency side. If you look at the private power tariffs, the power tariffs are, in case of solar and wind, have substantially fallen. One of the primary reasons being the SECI bids, the energy SECI has been coming out with solar and wind bids for putting up power plants, for farms which will be purchased by national as well as state level players. And these bid rates, have come below 3.14. I'm talking about 3.14 as a price that currently people are selling. And it's falling below that, to 2.43, 44, 47. So those kind of SECI rates has been a great motivator for bringing down the overall price level. So when you talk of generator busbar prices, long-term power prices have gone to ₹4 at generator busbar. Even at 4, unfortunately, because of the other market controlling parameters like the additional surcharge and those things like cross subsidies, our prices go up to almost ₹6.50 or ₹6.70 or even ₹7 in some cases. So this ₹4 itself seems unviable in some cases. So the captive prices also, and even long-term captive prices, have fallen down to ₹3.14 or around 3.14, which if you add up your carrying cost, you are assuming for captive prices there are no additional surcharges or cross-subsidy surcharges. It's only the transmission wheeling charges in Tamil Nadu. If the power plant is also in Tamil Nadu, your rates could be just around ₹3, another 57 or 67 paise that you can add on to this, and it just comes to less than ₹4 could be your price if you are talking of long-term captive signups. So this is what is happening on the power tariffs. If you are looking at solar and wind, which continues to fall, whereas the thermal side, it continues to soar. Thermal and biomass. So that has gone up to ₹5, which makes it pretty unviable to go for third-party purchases. But still, if you are going on a captive stream, then that could still be possible at around 5.9 or ₹6. You can still get thermal or not biomass. Thermal power you can get. Biomass is still higher. It could go up to, if you are on a captive mode, you could go up to about 6.1 or 6.2. This is the current ruling private power tariffs. But in all these cases, you need to have, if it's a captive price, you need to have an investment which starts at 27 lakhs a megawatt to around 50 lakhs a megawatt, depending on the generator's rating. Because he has to submit an audit valuation of his share capital, and share prices have to be clearly submitted in order to comply with all the regulatory norms. So this is the kind of ruling prices. I'm sure this sounds attractive to you. You could also look at it. There are multiple number of people offering this, not just us. So when you are looking at your power requirement, I'm sure you've already, most of you should be looking at a bouquet of power sources, a mix of solar, wind, and tangent core to keep the power price to the minimum level possible, and also be green at the same time. And long-term and clearly committed power contracts could ensure a cheap power source for you. One reason being that they will all be tied to you. It will be like a captive power source for you, and you will be declared as a captive power source. So there are legally also and on regulatory norms as well. But there is one major problem that we might really be facing, that is the gap in the solar supplies and in wind supplies. You know that the solar is only daytime. As of today, since the power prices in the normal hours are higher and the power prices on off-peak is low, TANGEDCO is allowing this adjustment from high to low. So we are able to cover the nighttime load also. But the peak hour loads still are not covered. And the same with wind. With the banking being withdrawn, we will find that the wind sources continue to be continue to be infirm and go through a major problem during the lean period or off season. And in all these cases, what we have seen is that LNG prices continue to come down and continue to fall, and peaking power stations are on the rise today. So whatever we are looking at is places where you could look, and I was discussing about this with Mr. Raguraj and also in the morning, and he was mentioning that if the pipeline had come, the gas pipeline had come, there were already people who had signed up in putting up these kind of peaking power stations or gas-based power and gas-based energy usage for their other purposes also. There's a multiple usage for LNG in terms of refrigeration as well as for power. This is something which could be made use of to bridge the gap wherever there is a fault line, particularly in case of infirm power. These fault lines need to be corrected. Apart from this, of course, the storage industry is also growing, and we hope that will continue to be good for us. And over a period of time, we may get some remedial action from them. As of today, the storage efficiency is, though some of the batteries, because we had I had the option of talking to some of Mitsubishi's battery storage units, and they had done a trial in the US, and I had the opportunity to visit them also. And what they showed us was about 95%. It was a vanadium battery bank on a container and 1 megawatt containers, which they were suggesting could be put up wherever it's required. But if you look at the overall cost to power ratio, you will still find you are losing nearly 10%, 5% to 10% of the power on one side. And today with 14% banking cost, still the 14% banking looked much more advantageous than going in for a battery-based system. Well, I'm talking about 3-4 years back. At that point of time, banking was still available. So post 2018, and now if we look at a no banking situation, and what do we do at this point of time, we can always take a relook at the economics of this. And if it is commercially viable, we can always look at it. But the trial tender from NTPC for a grid-connected battery is already floated. And let us wait and watch. Maybe in another year, it will get implemented and we will know what is happening to their grid-connected systems and how it works. And eCloudsEnergy is now a licensed power trading company. I think I have given you most of the information I thought I should share with you. So we are a licensed power trading company, and we bring the best options open to you. That doesn't mean that you should buy power from us only on a third-party basis. We also give you generators. We also manage some of the solar farms and parks that are coming up. And this would help us give you the best of the options, which could possibly lower your per unit or per kilowatt hour cost, average kilowatt hour cost on an annual basis to as great an extent as possible. And we will also ensure clear compliance of all regulatory norms and also report back on a regular basis to state regulatory commissions wherever it is needed. I've given you my contact details also for your information. Thank you. So a quick recap. I have just said that power prices have seen a surge due to environmental conditions. These are mostly regulatory. Coal and gas, of course, has been maintaining their price levels. To be independent of all these would mean having a clear long-term contract, ideally under captive power schemes. If you could sign up, or if you can put in your own plant, owning your own resource would be a good ideal thing. But going under a group captive would, or a captive scheme, would give you the advantage. Suppose your plant is not working, you can always share the power with the other members of your group, which could help you buffer the power, unconsumed periods of power, if there is any. And energy efficiency, of course, is the watchword. And audit would help identify any power problems that might come up. And whatever we have done is we can give you additional. We have also doing power audits. We have signed up the contracts with the 2 major auditing firms. One is Energize, which is a Swedish company. They specialize in the compressed air audits and ensure that all your compressed air is 100% perfect. They ensure They put up continuous monitoring systems to check your pressure and compressed air leaks, if there is any, will be immediately spotted. The same way we have also signed up with a Singapore-based company called Kimurai, which again brings to the board monitoring devices, which will go for continuous monitoring to ensure every one of your equipment is drawing power, only stipulated quantum of power, and not anything more, and not anything less as well. Okay, so this is something on offer. This is about our company. Thank you for listening in, and I am open for any questions. Over to Mr. Raj. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. If you have any questions, it may be raised.
I think maybe whatever I have said doesn't really appeal, or is it over the board? Meaning it doesn't, it is not in context, or you find it in context? I find
members who have got any question, you can raise it, sir. Probably எல்லாருக்கும் ஒரு aspiration, என்ன priceல நமக்கு வந்து இப்ப people have got a thought, people need some power, at what rate I am able to get it by way of group captive, whether it is a solar or wind or thermal or biomass, whatever may be, whether you are able to source and give it to them. That's a question they will always raise it. As you said, you are also given your contact number. Those who need power at a competitive price may also contact him, so that he will try to help you out how to mix the your what you call he will liaise with the electricity board also, and also he will properly advise you to how to take it forward.
Yes, absolutely. And I have already mentioned the power prices. I think that's possibly one of the cheapest you could get your hands on as of today, and we don't know. And the forecast is that the solar prices, well, I'm going again back to the International Energy Agency's forecast. The International Energy Agency's forecast is that it is going down by another 20% in the next 5 years. So it will always happen. I think solar prices could fall down again, primarily because the concentrated solar could catch up over a period of time. So your PLF could be going up. That is what we are expecting.
Anyway, very nice presentation. I think you have given some thoughts over all these aspects, especially conserving the energy and not only of power purchase, at all the same time people should focus towards the conservation of energy by way of a continuous audit, so that whatever you are able to save, that should be of a continuous one.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. It has to be continuously monitored in order to ensure that the efficiency continues to exist, because we are bound to lose up on our controls. So this could, over a period of time, again the slackness will come into the picture, and we will become slowly inefficient over a period of time. And I find some of noticeable people like Mr. Manmadan is there in the group, and I also find Mr. Natraj of KPR Mills. Thank you for listening in, and if you have any specific questions, I could always be interested to answer, sir.
Thanks, Sanjay. Just because of you, I was joining this meeting. Nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for joining in, sir. Yes, sir.
I think if there is no question, I once again thank you very much for sparing a valuable time and share your knowledge with the members of SIMA. And we look forward to have a continuous journey in the coming days, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was my, thank you all of you for joining in. Thank you.